Hi, I'm John Storms. Today we have a very special video. The Pixel order has arrived. So I placed an order. So I got my 2 boxes of new Pixels. It's a very big day. Everything I've been doing up to this point this year has been on old Pixels. But I got 2 boxes of new Pixels. I ordered these from Paul Zhang on January 7th. That's when I actually paid for the lights. And it was about a day or two before, just going back and forth. I'm pretty sure he has a storefront, but when I order from him, I just ping him on Facebook Messenger, and he sends me back a price. I pay him through PayPal, and then he ships me the lights. And if you buy a certain number of lights, typically the vendors will knock off shipping. I do everything that people say don't do. I buy direct from China. I use family and friends on PayPal, but I've also been working with this vendor, Paul Zhang, for a number of years, and I've never had any trouble. The other problem you run into is quality, right? You know, you're ordering from China, and it all comes down to the epoxy. So some years, people have had, a lot of variability in the quality of the pixels that they get. My personal thought on it is I like to order my Pixels right after Christmas, right? At the beginning of the new year, before Chinese New Year. This is before they've let all the factory workers go and before Chinese New Year. And I find that I tend to get pretty good lights. Maybe they're not training people, I don't know. But anyway, January 7th, I actually paid for the lights. Then on January 26th, Paul ships the lights. Now, he ships them by boat. So they have to go to, I think, Hong Kong or something, sit in the port for a while. They come to the U.S. He'll give you a tracking number, but it doesn't show any motion until they get picked up in the U.S. And this actually says it went through Canada. So it says it went through Haven Avenue, Unit Number 8, Ontario, Canada, 91761, which is a long way to get to Texas from China. And, of course, Paul's in Shenzhen, China. Okay, the lights arrived, so they shipped on January 26, 2024, and then they arrived yesterday. So it took 19 days to fill the order, 28 days for the order to ship, and it's been a total of 47 days since I placed the order. So, yeah, kind of cool. And it's neat, the boxes have Chinese writing on them, it says Alibaba, and so on. Now this box is a little messed up. So the bottom here is like barely attached. So we're going to have to make sure things, especially at the bottom, are not damaged. All right. We ready to see what we got? Let's start opening up stuff. All right. Let me go to the other side. It's like Christmas. Okay. Be very careful opening. Okay. Let's take a look. All right. Ooh. Now, Pixels, let me just say, have an aroma, okay? Okay, so here, these are my 22 millimeter lights. I use these come on, everything I use is on X-Connect connectors. And when I order from Paul, I tell him what kind of lights I want, and I also tell him how many lights per string, because he'll customize them. And then I also tell them what color wire I want, right? So these I use for the yard, and there's 25 bulbs per string. And I always order a couple of so if I have strings go bad in a year, I'll order some replacements. I didn't have any of these go bad this year, but they're due, so I got a couple replacement strings. Now let's see. No, Sometimes, I mean, usually these smell just awful. So here's 2 strings of those, right? And I am going to test all of this out. And everything I do, I use 12 volt. Okay. All right, so put static bags over there. Let's see so I have 2 strings of those. And you know, I'm going to keep an inventory here. So this is 24 millimeter WS 2811. Okay, and I got 2 of those. All right, let's see what's next up. Oh, okay. So these, and see they're still, see how they're attached together? That means he tested them. All right, they were doing that for testing. Now there is the Pixel smell. And if you're not sure what Pixel smells like, they smell like cancer. Very, very pungent chemical, but they, you know, there's epoxy. And so these are icicle lights. And I actually had a Pixel go bad on a string of icicle lights. Luckily, it was at the very end, and I was able to adjust my model so nobody would see it. I was very fortunate. And that was really my only real failure this year. So I got 2 more. So one of them went bad. So I'm replacing that string. And then I can fix the string at my leisure, but I have a replacement. And then for these are 100 lights each with 20 drops of 5, right? So there will be 20 bulbs running along the top, and then they'll have drops with 5 pixels each for 100 pixels. And then for the lights along the top, I'll glue on with hot glue a C9 cover so that the house outline is outlined in C9s. So I have 2 of these. And I know they're icicle lights just by looking, because some of the wires have 4 wires going into them. Now these are the first bullet pixel I've pulled out, and so I'm very interested. Let me grab my AARP issued magnifying glass, and I want to look at the pixel. So this is where the quality comes in, right? So you're looking at, oops, each individual bulb. So here in the butt end of the bulb is where the epoxy gets injected in and then hardened, right? So ideally, these are full and the epoxy is hard. And these are not perfectly full, but the epoxy is hard. It shouldn't be soft. No, it feels nice and hard. And where people have problems is when the epoxy is soft, it cracks, and then water gets inside the bulb here, right? And then it causes shorts, causes heat, and then you have a heat condition. See? And you can see the 4 wires there that's leading up to the bulb. That's because it has to go down the drop and back up. But these are my icicle lights. Okay, so I've got 2 of these. So we'll update the little sheet here. So we'll say icicle lights. And these are 25 count. These are 100 count. And I've gotten 2 of those, which I believe is what I ordered. It's kind of, but I don't always remember exactly what I ordered. I did have specific plans for when I ordered this stuff. Then I've since changed those plans. But I always order a buffer just in case. All right, now these, see, these are smaller. These These are attached. All right, how many pixels am I dealing with here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17. Okay, so these are 17 pixels. These are, I had these special made because at the time I placed my order, my plan was I was going to keep the wreaths. I have 2 big wreaths on the house, but I was going to, in the holes, put, what do they call it? The Yaya Center from Gilbert Engineering. And it takes 217 lights. So I ordered from Paul some strings of 17 so I could use strings of 50 and then have a couple strings of 17. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. And what did I order for? Because I have 2 of the Yayas and I got myself some backups. So I'll have to find a use for those Yayas. So these are bullet 17 count. I have 4 of those. Okay, what is next? Woo-hoo-hoo. Okay, these are bullet pixels, 125 pixels each. These I use on my trees. So 125 works well for my tree line of 13 trees that I have out front. Okay. And these are 125 count. And I use 125 because 150 was too many because I just wrap it. All right, so I have 2 of those. And we're gonna test all of these here. I've got 2 more bags, and these are the ones that are at the bottom. So I'm double checking the bottom side, make sure that there's no holes in that part. So I think they're fine. It's just, you know, rough conditions on a ship that goes all the way from China to, you know, Canada. And expect a little rain. Now let's see what we have here. Okay, now we're into the good stuff. Alright, so now we're into the very standard. This is the staple, right? This is, you know, WS2811's 50 count, 50 pixels, right? So there's 25 on this side, 25 on that side. I have my X-Connect connectors, white wire. On the white wire, I also like, you know, here you see the little dashes. That tells you that's ground. Middle wire is data. The other wire is V+. And so these are my 50 count pixels, right? We use these for everything. So let's start an entry for that. Bullet, WS2811. 50 count. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to store them in this box. So here we're going to count them out. So here I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Alright, so we got 10 of those. Okay, let's get the next one. Okay, so now we got 2, 8. It's another 10. Okay, cranking right along. So that is box 1. Before we get into too much, let's see if we can, how the epoxy is looking on these guys. All right, so this is where you want to be looking. You want to look into the butt end there, and you want to make sure that epoxy is filled. So it does go up to the top, it's concaved, and it is hard. Yeah, that's what I like. Now, epoxy, they inject it with a little machine, so sometimes you'll have a nozzle that's off, and so you gotta, you know, especially on your first couple of strings, really look to see if there's any low ones, but they're pretty good. See, the trick is you want to hit the factories when their workers are really good at making the pixels, right? Because at the beginning of a season, they'll hire people on and they'll be training them and they throw them in right away. So you never know. They might take a little while to get up to speed. But, you know, once they've been doing it the whole season, they know what they're doing. So that's why I kind of like to buy at the tail end of Christmas, because you know, maybe they've let some people go, but maybe they kept their really good workers, right? So I've been very lucky getting quality stuff. All right, now here's the other box. Opening box 2 very carefully. Pixels do not like to be cut by razor blades. The other trick when ordering direct from China is you gotta also be aware that the Chinese New Year, this year it was February 10th, but you want to be careful that you get your order in before Chinese New Year. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting. Chinese New Year is a big deal in China. It's like Christmas in the States. All right. Interesting box. Okay. Ooh. I'm going to use this to store my specialty bulbs for now. It's my 2 for the trees, 2 for the roof line, my yayas, and for the lawn sticks. Okay. Alright, now here's a place I want to be careful. This bag is burst. So you want to take a look, just especially around, you know, make sure there's no damage. Okay. Things look pretty good. Looking at that epoxy. I also like seeing if how that circuit board sits in the container. That's pretty good. Alright, so 2. That's 4. 6. 8, 10. All right, so we got another 10 in the box. Where's my pen? Okay, so we're up to 30 sets of 50 count lights. This one's burst too. I think they overfilled the bags a little bit. But this box held together pretty good, so it was intact when it showed up. Okay, 2, 4, 6, Okay. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10. So another 10. Okay. So we have 50 strings of 50 count, 2 strings of 125 count, 4 strings of 17 count, 2 strings of 100 count, and 2 strings of 25 count. Now, something I'm thinking about doing this year, a little different. Just to kind of keep track of where the lights come from. And I don't think this will last long. What I'm thinking about doing is going to each string and do a little PZ. So I know this string came from Paul Zhang. And I'm going to say 24. So I know I bought it in 2024. And that way, if I have problems, I can pin it back to a specific set. I haven't done this all along. I wish I had. The problem is that you don't think of these things. Some lights I can tell where I got them from. Most of the lights I've gotten over recent years has been from Paul Zhang, and been very happy with them. But I'm going to go through and mark them. I think that makes a lot of sense, so that if I do have issues, I know who to call. Paul Zhang. It's hard to write on these connectors. And of course, these are going to fade over time. Hopefully, it won't matter. But the next step is, so now we're all unpackaged. I need to go double check that this is actually my order, that we didn't miss anything, but I've never had Paul miss something before. But I'll go through and double check just in case. But now we are unpackaged. Now we begin testing. The fun part. Light them up.